Hello, sports fans, and welcome to the Scott Sports 101 Monday Night Football Doubleheader Postgame Show. Well, we're going to recap both Monday night games. First, their spot in the playoffs secure the Minnesota Vikings. Delivered a primetime performance, seeped in those ingredients that frequently fuel postseason success. Aaron Jones and Cam Akers had touchdown runs in the second half to complement an unrelenting defense, uh, unrelenting defense, and the Vikings forged a tie for first place in the NFC North on Monday night by beating the Chicago Bears 30-12 for their seventh consecutive victory. The Vikings go to 12-2, who clinched a spot in the playoffs with Seattle's loss to Green Bay and caught their big break when Detroit's 11-game winning streak was stopped by Buffalo earlier on Sunday. I'm going to be incredibly competitive down the stretch, Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell said. We're going to have to play well and continue to improve, chasing our best football. Justin Jefferson had 7 catches for 73 yards, among them a touchdown from Sam Darnold in the first quarter that was set up by Jonathan Greenard's touchdown set. Jonathan Greenard's sack, and forced fumble on Caleb Williams. Just seeing us stacking the plays, stacking the good games together, it's really good to see. Jefferson said, "Our potential is so high. Every game, we're expecting the offense to be the best on the field. The Bears put plenty of heat on Darnold, who went 24 for 40 for 231 yards and threw his first interception in 5 games on a 4th and 3. Throw 3 plays after Jefferson dropped what would have been a 30-yard touchdown pass with a double-digit point lead for the last 50-plus minutes of the game. The Vikings turned to Jones for 18 rushes and 86 yards. And seeing the amount of effort he is doing after the first contact is what's crazy to me. Fighting for those extra points and getting those first downs, Jefferson said. Having a back like that is tremendous. Wearing white helmets for the first time in franchise history to top the snow-like jerseys and pants in their now annual winter-themed home game, comfortably staged indoors, the Vikings had an energized crowd behind them after former wide receivers Chris Carter and Jake Reed took a Randy Moss jersey to midfield for the coin flip in honor of their ex-teammate who was being treated for cancer. Jefferson shouted, "We love you, Randy," after his touchdown catch. The defense picked up the vibe, allowing the Bears to convert just 1 of 12 third downs and 1 of 3 fourth downs. Williams was exhausted from having to sprint around so much to avoid being sacked, doubling over on the bench at one point in the fourth quarter. Our defense was phenomenal, O'Connell said. Williams managed to keep alive his NFL rookie record streak of 286 straight passes without an interception for the 8th straight game. But the Bears now have fallen to 4-10 and have lost all of those. The first overall pick in the 2024 draft went 18 for 31 carries and attempts for 191 yards and threw a late touchdown pass to Keenan Allen after a blocked punt gave Chicago the ball at the Minnesota 27. DeAndre Swift rushed 19 times for 79 yards for the Bears, who have been outscored 53-0 in the first half over the last 3 games. according to Sport Radar, excuse me. Uh, they're the first team with 3 consecutive scoreless first halves since Jacksonville in 2018. Just trying to find ways to put us in better spots. Spots, design better plays, call better plays, interim coach Thomas Brown said. Once again, the Bears produced a handful of can't-happen plays that ultimately doomed them. Swift was stuffed for no gain on a toss sweep on 4th and 1 from the Chicago 39, the opening possession, and again on 4th and 1 at the Minnesota 29 in the second quarter. In the third quarter, Swift had a short touchdown run erased by a penalty when backup center Doug Kramer neglected to report as an eligible receiver upon entering as an extra blocker for the goal line play. After that, rookie Kyran Amenga Dijai, who took 3 penalties in his first NFL start and was beaten badly by Greenard on the strip sack, was called for holding. The Bears settled for a short field goal. Scoring in this league is tough. Winning games is tough. You've got to score to be able to win. And that's exactly true, and I agree with that. Williams said, taking those points off the board, it obviously hurts us. Bears, Ameg Dijai subbed for Braxton Jones, who was out with a concussion, along with backup running back Rashawn Johnson and backup left guard Ryan Bates. And Vikings right tackle Brian O'Neill hurt his right knee in the first quarter, but after being sidelined for a handful of series, returned for most of the second half. Cornerback Stephen Gilmore, who missed the second straight game with a hamstring injury. The Bears host, will have to regroup as they host the Lions on Sunday. And I'm not, Bears fans, don't hold your breath on your Chicago Bears beating the Lions, and the Vikings visit the Seahawks on Sunday, this coming Sunday. And right now, I gotta tell you, I gotta give the game balls to the Minnesota Vikings. I gotta give them to them. Sam Darnold, 24-40, carries attempts, 131 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Aaron Jones, 18 attempts, 86 yards, 1 touchdown. And Justin Jefferson, 70 receptions, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. And, excuse me. And, but the Bears are just, their season's basically over for them now that they're 4-10. And, the Vikings go to 12-2. So, but, Minnesota is in the playoffs. And so they are 12-2 as of right now, and the Bears fall to 4-10. Now moving on to the other one, the later game, the Atlanta Falcons and the Las Vegas Raiders. I had most of the game, including by double digits in the fourth quarter. The Atlanta Falcons were just trying to hold on at the end. The Raiders, who had 2 passes into the end zone, 2 passes to steal a victory, and hand Atlanta a considerable setback to its playoff hopes. Desmond Ritter's first attempt was incomplete, and his second was intercepted by Jesse Bates III, allowing Atlanta to escape Las Vegas with a 15-9 victory and keep pace in the NFC South. The Falcons are now 7-7, ending a 4-game losing streak to remain a game behind the first place Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Atlanta owns the head-to-head tiebreaker in a close race with 3 games remaining. That's where you want to be, and that's exactly where we're at. Falcons coach Raheem Morris said, we've got a short week. We've got to get back in the lab. we've got to find ways to fix what we did wrong tonight and come out and get another win. Atlanta has a favorable remaining schedule, facing two teams with a combined 5 wins that sandwich a trip to 9-5 Washington. Tampa Bay has a similar finishing stretch. A potential number 1 overall draft pick, rather than playoff scenarios, make up the most conversation regarding Las Vegas, who has now fallen to 2-12. The Raiders lost their 10th consecutive game, the NFL's longest active skid, and are tied with the New York Giants for the league's worst record in its 5th longest skid in Raiders history and worst since dropping 16 straight a decade ago. And the Raiders season is basically over, so they are trying to look at the next season and just playing these games for pride. Kirk Cousins entered with no touchdown passes and 8 interceptions over his previous 4 starts, raising questions about whether rookie Michael Penix Jr. would take over a quarterback for Atlanta. Morris stuck by Cousins, who signed a 4-year, $180 million contract this year over the 8th pick in the NFL draft. Cousins did little to a surge concern. Cousins did little to assuage concerns about his play passing for just 112 yards with an interception. His 30-yard pass to wide open Drake London with 14 seconds left in the first quarter to put Atlanta ahead 7-0 was his first touchdown toss since firing 3 of them November 3rd in a 27-21 victory over the Dallas Cowboys. He's got to play better, Morris said. Cousins didn't disagree. It's starting the obvious, he said. The Falcons got the rest of their points on 2 field goals from Young Ho Koo and a safety by defensive lineman Zach Harrison. Bijan Robinson rushed for 125 yards. London caught 3 passes for 53 yards to give him a 219 career receptions. London passed Calvin Ridley's 217 catches for most in Falcons history over a player's first 3 seasons. Atlanta prevented Ritter from putting a dent in its playoff plans. Ritter, who started 13 games for the Falcons last season before he was traded to Arizona, was stymied most of the night in his first start this season in replacing Aiden O'Connell, inactive because of a bruised left knee. Ritter passed for 208 yards with a touchdown and 2 receptions. Ritter again downplayed the emotions of playing against his former team, emphasizing this was more about the Raiders than him. We were never able to find a rhythm until late in the game, he said. By then, it's too little, too late. And ain't that the truth? That is exactly right. The injury riddled Raiders gained just 249 yards, and they have trailed by double digits in all 14 games this season. O'Connell wasn't the only player missing. Defensive end Max Crosby announced Saturday he would be undergoing season-ending ankle surgery, and the Raiders were without about half of their starting lineup on defense. Las Vegas also lost running back Sincere McCormick, who had recently become the starter to an ankle injury early in the second quarter. Even so, the Raiders nearly rallied to win. Raiders' 5-yard touchdown pass to running back Amir Abdullah with 2:54 left brought Las Vegas within 6. The extra point was blocked the third time the Falcons got their hands on a Raiders punt or a kick. After getting the ball back for a last gasp drive, the Raiders converted on a 4th and 8 from their 34-yard line. They eventually set up Ritter's 2 shots in the end zone, into the end zone. Desmond did a good job of throwing it up there. Raiders coach Antonio Pierce said it's a jump ball situation, and then he's exactly right about that. The Falcons host. They have to Falcons will play host to the New York Giants, whose season is also basically over on Sunday. They will play them on Sunday, and Raiders will have to regroup as they host the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. And right now, I've got to give the game balls to the Atlanta Falcons. I got to give them to them. I got to give them to the Falcons. And I was having a little technical problem. There we go. Kirk Cousins, 17 of 24 carries and attempts, 112 yards, one touchdown, one interception. By John Robinson, 22 attempts, 125 yards. And Drake London, 3 receptions, 53 yards, 1 touchdown. Atlanta 7-7, and the Raiders now 2-12 on the season. Well, we do have as we look ahead to Week 16, we've got a full week of football beginning Thursday night with Thursday night football, and that game will be the Denver Broncos will be at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. And then we have 2 games on Saturday. In the early game, the Houston Texans will play host to will be in Arrowhead Stadium, in Kansas City, Missouri, to take on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And in the late game, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be in Baltimore to play Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Looking ahead to Sunday, the Browns are in Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Hopefully, they can bounce back from that loss, and it is looking like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, will be the starting quarterback for that game. The Giants, as I mentioned, are in Atlanta to take on the Falcons. The Arizona Cardinals are in Bank of America Stadium in North Carolina to play the Panthers. The Detroit Lions are at Soldier Field in Chicago to take on the Bears. The Tennessee Titans are at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis to take on the Colts. The LA Rams are in MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey to take on Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. And rounding out the early games, Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles are in Washington, or in Northwest Stadium in Maryland to take on the Washington Commanders. The late afternoon games, the 4 o'clock games. The Minnesota Vikings are at Lumen Field in Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The New England Patriots are at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Jacksonville Jaguars are in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas to take on the Raiders, as I mentioned. The Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers are in Miami to take on Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins. That rounds out the 4 o'clock games. Sunday Night Football, Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers are at AT&T Stadium in Big D to take on the Dallas Cowboys. And Monday Night Football, Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints are at legendary Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin to take on Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. And that's your full slate of football for Week 16. And so I took Minnesota in 1, and so did my brother-in-law, Eric Hoyle, and I took Atlanta in 1. I won the pick. My brother-in-law was 11-5. He went to 3-10-2, fell to that. And I went to 11-3-2, and I was 15-1 on my picks. The only loss I had was Buffalo beating Detroit. That was my only loss. Well, that's just about going to wrap it up for the Scott Sports 101 Monday Night Football postgame show, doubleheader postgame show. I'll be back with the Scott Sports 101 Thursday Night Football pregame show before the Broncos Chargers game and the post game show to follow afterwards. Excuse me, after that, once it's concluded. But until then, always remember, be a team player each and every day in every way possible. Come on, everybody. 3, 2, 1. I'm done.